Unlike this movie, I only need one word: bad. A Thousand Words. Dated jokes. A Thousand Words was shot in 2008. And removing Eddie Murphy's voice, his greatest comedic asset, dooms this painful mess from the start. This is another Rotten Tomatoes review. Does this movie deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes? And as you can see from the beginning of this video, we're going to talk about A Thousand Words. And I don't need 1,000 words for this video. I promise it'll be a lot less than that. This movie came out in 2012. It was filmed apparently in 2008, which is crazy to me because that's 4 years of this movie sitting on the shelf. And it's kind of funny because I didn't even know that, but I felt like as I was watching, I was like, wow, this movie feels dated. The jokes just feel like they're old. And I did not know at the time that it's because this movie was 4 years old by the time it came out. So realistically, I watched this in 2021. The movie's not 8 years old or 9 years old, but it's actually 13 years old. That's crazy. That's insane. Where do you even begin on this movie? This movie is about a man who doesn't ever shut up, played by Eddie Murphy, who's a comedic genius, who is only funny when he uses his mouth because his physical comedy is not good. It's just not good. Eddie Murphy's funny when he has that dialogue and the chance to use his words as a weapon for comedy, and this movie just takes that away from him. But he's a man who is a agent for authors, and he meets this Dr. Sinja, who is a man at peace, a man who's trying to find the innermost beauty and the honesty within people. Dr. Sinja's resort, I guess, in Bolivia has this tree. Eddie Murphy connects with the tree, then the tree comes to his house, and he only has 1,000 words because once the leaves fall off of the tree, he will die along with the tree. The premise is interesting. I mean, it is a very interesting premise. It is kind of a unique premise. But why did you cast Eddie Murphy, who is hilarious? In order for this movie to have been successful, you should have cast somebody who's a much better physical actor as well as a physical comedian. I look at someone like Jim Carrey. I mean, you could have had someone like him who is able to use the comedy in so many different ways. It's not just telling funny jokes, because that's what Eddie Murphy is. He's known for the way he enunciates words, the way he's able to make goofy sounds, and the fact that he uses his voice. And in this movie, you take away the one thing that's actually good about him as a performer and the thing that has stood out about Eddie Murphy for a long time. It's an interesting premise, but the plot is so ridiculously goofy. I mean, in the first 5 minutes of this movie, it doesn't really buy you in or sell you in on this idea that this guy could last his life and his career going and using 1,000 words or less. I mean, he's a fast talking guy, and the thing is you see him with like tape over his mouth trying to like not talk, but the gags, again, the physical gags don't really work for me in this movie. They just don't. They're not funny. They're very cringy and awkward, and just they feel very stupid and beneath you. It makes you feel like you're dumb having watched this film. And I've seen a lot of bad movies, but this movie just makes you feel stupid. Eddie Murphy's character is unlikable in every sense of the word, and I actually found him to be very annoying in this movie, which is sad because I love Eddie Murphy, but he's just annoying. And his character, I don't care about his character. He's a terrible human being. He's a terrible person. He's selfish, and he treats others around him terribly. So when he's going through this whole predicament and you see him get affected and he loses his loved ones around him, you don't kind of care. Like, I just was like, like, I'm sorry, but I kind of don't care. You're like a terrible person, and I guess you kind of need this to be better. Forced cringe dialogue and jokes. Again, it's because the movie's so dated that it feels like the forced humor is very, very pushed in your face. And again, the jokes feel like recycled jokes from the late 2000s. Kerry Washington, I love her. She's way too good to be in this movie. The fact that she's in this movie to me makes this movie even worse for me because you're ruining someone like her for me, and I love Kerry Washington. I've been a big fan of hers for a long time. And why did she have to be in this movie? Kerry, I love you. You made a mistake. You shouldn't be in garbage movies like this. This is bad. Sinja is such a boring character. And it's the guy who played The Rock Hobbs character from Fast and Furious' brother in Hobbs and Shaw. So I remembered him from that. He was also in Dr. Sleep. He's a much better actor now. And I think he probably realized just how bad this movie was. He was phoning it in the entire time. Really bad acting, really flat line delivery. I mean, everything this guy said, it made you want to fall asleep. It's already boring, but like this movie feels a lot more boring. He's just bringing more onto it because of how he's delivering his lines. It's just so flat and monotone, and you could tell he just does not care to be there. Another thing that I liked, other than Kerry Washington, was Clark Duke. I love Clark Duke. He's actually like a saving grace for me in this movie, in the first half at least, and then the second half, I couldn't stand his character at all. It just kind of felt like they were pushing his character a little bit too much, whereas you should have put more focus on Eddie Murphy's character and his struggle and not this character by Clark Duke that kind of in a sense becomes what Eddie Murphy was. And it's like that reversal that happens. I don't know. I liked his character in the first half. He kind of saved the movie for me in the first half, but then the second half they just fall off with his character and he goes from likable to unlikable very quickly.
Jack, is this about the Christmas party? I'm so sorry. That was the peach schnapps that tried to kiss your wife, not me. I mean, I don't want to kiss your wife, even though her lips felt like heaven. I'm gonna go. Oh my God. You found my video camera with the furry tapes.
Pardon me, Mr. McCall. Samantha asked me to get you. She wants to introduce you to somebody.
Yeah, Mary, the jig's up, okay? He knows what we do in here.
There's a part in this movie where Eddie Murphy's character Jack is on a call with a firm that is trying to kind of buy the rights for this book, and he's trying to negotiate this deal with them, but he can't talk, so he uses these dolls that are just conveniently placed into this office where everyone has apparently a doll at their desk that talks and has like a weird quote, or like it has a movie quote or something. It's like the weirdest and most bizarre scene I've ever seen, because it's like, number one, the convenience of all of that is just too ridiculous to even comprehend. Number two, everyone on the call listening in, how could they not think that there was something going on? They act as if it's normal, that it's actually him talking to them when it's clearly Austin Powers going,
"Yeah, baby."
Are these people stupid? That's what I felt like. I felt like these people were just really dumb. And I love Austin Powers. I mean, you won me over because you had Austin Powers doll in there, and I got to hear, "Yeah, baby," a bunch of times. But the problem is at the end of the day, these characters are just really stupid. They're so stupid. And it's not just these characters, it's all the characters in this movie. There's just no sense of belief. And these characters, countless times, don't question any of Jack's antics. And it's only until one scene that was really hilarious to me, which is the scene where he gets high, because what happens to the tree happens to him. So like, for example, if a gardener is watering the tree, he starts sweating really bad. Jack starts sweating really bad. And there's a scene where his gardener is putting this like gas on the tree. I don't really know what it is. I guess like this detoxing stuff. And then Jack ends up getting high. And so they're in a restaurant and he keeps acting like very immature and acting like someone who's, well, high. That scene was funny to me, but for all the wrong reasons. I felt like it could have been better executed if there was, again, someone who was better able to physically emote the comedy of the scene. And also, it felt weird to me because it's like, that scene felt so out of place from the entirety of the movie, because that's the one moment where like characters stop being dumb for a second. But even so, Jack is just so over the top that it's like, I've seen people who are high and they don't act like this. I mean, this is just, it's unbelievable. It's very much unbelievable. And again, I mean, it's a movie about a guy who has 1,000 words left to speak, or else he dies because of a tree. So, I mean, it's already unbelievable, but yeah, this scene stood out to me, but also at the same time, like, it was hilarious in all of the bad ways. And then here's another thing that's weird. Like, Jack loses his job, okay? So Jack ends up losing his job as an agent at the scene where he gets high, and he wants to start making amends with people, and he realizes, like, screw it, this is what I'm gonna do with my last words. And there's this valet guy who wants to be an author, and he gave Jack a copy of his script, I guess you could say, or manuscript, months ago, and Jack finally reads it and then gives him a check to buy the rights of the book. But it's weird because I'm like, you just lost your job. How do you have $10,000? How do you have a check? And how can you still be allowed to buy the rights of a book? Is that scene supposed to take place before the high scene? I don't know if it was just bad editing or if they just didn't realize that Jack had lost his job already. It's pretty impossible for him to give someone a check for $10,000 when everything is falling apart in his life, and he gives this guy a check for $10,000, and he even still has him literally park his car, even though he doesn't work for the company anymore. Wouldn't you think that the valet people would know whether or not he works there? And how could it be that he still goes to work even though he got fired? Nobody questions anything in this movie, apparently, because again, all of the characters are extremely stupid. And Jack is apparently just made of money. That's it. The leaves on this tree, they're not actually representing him or representing his words. They, I guarantee they just turn into money magically, like overnight. I bet that's one of the things that happens. You know, Eddie Murphy then becomes Donkey from Shrek, and he goes to the swamp and lives with Shrek. Like, that's how this movie ends. Did you believe a single word that I said? Well, I was right about the whole magical check thing. I don't know how that works. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm still thinking about it the day after, like, how, when, what, why? Then there's like this stuff with like his younger self because his dad left him, and, you know, he's hated his dad forever. And, you know, I can relate to that. Like, I don't have a good relationship with my dad. My dad abandoned me and my siblings. So I can understand where he's coming from. But all of the stuff with him being younger and then his younger self looking at his older self and being like, Dad. And it's like, I'm not your dad. I'm older you. All of that stuff was really, really, really weird. It just didn't feel like it fit the movie at all. And then the entire thing is a redemption thing where he has to say that he forgives his dad. I know that that was a subplot of the movie, but why is that the resolution to all of this? It's like he has to forgive his dad, who was a deadbeat. I don't like that. Like, I took that personally and said, I don't like that because I have issues with my dad. And if you're saying that, like, if there's a magical tree that pops up in my yard, I have 1,000 words, and the only way it's gonna save me, or I'm gonna be saved, is if I forgive my dad, then I'm dead. Then I'm dead. It was nice knowing you. And that's kind of it. I mean, I don't know. There's some good things about it. Like I said, Kerry Washington, she's too good to be in this movie. Clark Duke is good in the first half of the film. I mean, some of Eddie Murphy, there's one line at the beginning of the movie that actually made me laugh, kind of, because it was actually kind of funny. Other than that, like, this movie's just boring. It's bland. It's not great. And it had a really good premise. It had something going for it that was so unique and so different. So it's a bit of a letdown. Does this movie deserve a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, though? Yes! This movie is just not entertaining. It should have been. And that's the problem, is that this movie just has so many missed opportunities, and it's unfortunate. Anyway, guys, what did you think about me bringing the Rotten Tomatoes videos back? I'm so excited to be able to bring this series back. I wanted to actually watch something else, but it kind of just didn't work out, and I realized, hey, 1,000 Words is on Netflix, so I might as well watch that, right? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on this movie if you've seen it down below in the comments section. Hit that like button. It really, really means a lot. It helps the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel for more content just like this if you enjoy talking about some bad movies. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to talk a lot about Criterion next month, as it is the Criterion sale. I'm going to be doing a Criterion shopping video. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you don't want to miss out on that type of content, because that's usually some of the best content I have all year. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.